Welcome back, my fellow UFC fans, both men and women alike, for UFC. And as we just saw in UFC 261 last night or Sunday morning for some of us here in the UK, Usman beat Masvidal again for the second time in a brutal knockout. During Nightmare, he has now extended his winning run in the franchise to 14 with a 19-1 current position within the UFC. So credible stats. Obviously, we know he's still not very liked, surprisingly, by the fans. Obviously, Dana White still, tells them stop hating. I don't understand how you keep saying this guy's boring, because he's not boring. He just gets better and better and better. I don't know if there's some slight bit of racism there or something, but obviously people just don't always warm to certain athletes in certain sports, and sadly for Usman, that's the case of him. But maybe they'll turn around eventually, but I can't see it happening, despite the fact that he's on his way to GOAT status, and he already is, really, in my opinion. There's something not quite adding up there with the fans. So I'll get to the fight shortly. As we know, it was a brutal knockout in the second round, and it was one of the best knockouts of the century, in my opinion. So just absolutely incredible power and, just so much precision and focus and just pure alpha dominance within the octagon. The guy just comes back every time, a different game plan, and just rattles people to the core. And Masvidal was not ready for that. Obviously, as we know, Masvidal's also never been knocked out before either. Some of you may know this is obviously a rematch from the short notice fight that happened last July, when obviously Burns was unable to fight Usman for the first time because he tested positive for COVID. So that actually happened in UFC 251 in Abu Dhabi, and that was obviously won by unanimous decision on points for Usman's favour. But obviously Masvidal was always saying, look, I stepped in 6 days notice, lost all that weight very quickly. I wasn't ready. I flew halfway around the world. The odds weren't in my favour. So the fact I still got the points I did, let's do it again and let me have a full camp. And obviously Usman was saying in the post-fight interview in the last fight of Burns that, I'll give you a full camp and you can get ready, and then let's see who's still the winner, because I'm confident that it will be me. And obviously, as we saw, it was. Honest, personally, like many of the other fans, I did think Masvidal would do better. Obviously, he went the full 5 rounds on the last time, so that was with low prep. So the fact he had so much more time to prep, and he's already fought Usman before, gives him the advantage there. And sadly, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough at all. And obviously, he had the crowd behind him. Jacksonville, that's his home soil. Everyone was on his side, cheering for him. And obviously, at any point the crowd got, they would boo Usman, unfortunately. But obviously, that didn't make a difference. We all know in sports you can boo the opposition and they still win, so it doesn't really make a difference. But nonetheless, it was packed out crowd. Obviously, the first sellout fight in over a year for UFC. It's come with some criticism in the media, because obviously there's no social distancing, no mask and whatnot, but I think the UFC and the fans just don't give a shit, to be honest. Itself, as we saw, was a very short one, ending very quickly within the second round with a right punch to the jaw, which obviously took Masvidal by surprise and knocked him out cold, as you just saw there in that clip. Usman came from such power and velocity. He just wasn't expecting that, and I think maybe he had a little bit of help there from, obviously, as we know, the new heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. I think maybe he's been talking to him more about the stand-up game, but as we know with Usman, his stand-up is incredible anyway. He's got great striking power and has actually won 3 out of his last 4 fights by KO. So he obviously wanted to go with that first of all, and to try and prevent Masvidal by going to the ground, because as we know, Masvidal favours the wrestling and he's very good at it. And I think even though Usman is not crap at wrestling, we know that he's also a good all-rounder. I think he just wanted to end the fight quickly and shut him up, and that's what he did. You can all agree, whether you like him or not, you can't criticise the guy. He is a fantastic fighter and athlete, and he's only getting better. And like he said, and quote, I told everybody I'm still getting better. I'm still getting better. The sky's the limit for me as long as I'm doing this. And he said again to the haters and the fans in the crowd, you wanted violence? You're welcome. That's what I gave you. And he certainly did. And, obviously it was a bit abrupt. It was a short fight. It would have been nice to maybe have at least another round or two. But irregardless, this is what happens in the sport. It can happen, be over in the blink of an eye. And 2 rounds is not bad, but I personally would have preferred a little bit more. Perhaps some wrestling, but irregardless, what a great knockout, absolutely incredible power. It really showcases his impressive versatility and his ability to adjust his tactics during the bouts. when he was a previous wrestler in the NCAA Division 2, in his first 10 UFC fights, he only had one knockout before he stopped Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns and then Masvidal with punch in the 18 months. So again, just, crazy stats. And he's definitely on his way for GOAT status, like I said. He's definitely chasing the tail silver. And, I really believe he can get there before he retires, because he's still quite young, only 33, like I said before. So there's definitely time there. But at the end of the fight, he in the post-fight interview, he actually thanked Masvidal, who, by the way, his record now is 35-15, for actually scaring him and pushing him, saying that it's been such a long time since he felt nervous before a bout. I'm quite surprised by that. Obviously, I know he's still human, and he knows he's not invincible, but I really thought that he wouldn't have been fazed by Masvidal, but perhaps because of the longer training camp this time and the proper prep, he did think, okay, maybe I shouldn't underestimate him and I shouldn't be so overconfident and arrogant. And obviously, as we know, that's a good thing, because things can go quite wrong if you go into something in life and think that it's a dead set that you've got it, because you can be easily surprised and fail. But you can see from the photos and obviously the little video clips of Masvidal, he's hurt, he's upset. And he said, it did hurt me. I've never been knocked out before. So it really got to him. It's rattled him. But he respects him. He said, look, you've got my number. You know where I'm at. But I'll be honest, they've had 2 fights. Usman's won both fights. There's no point having a trilogy fight, because it's not going to be best of 5. It's just pointless. I think he's proven that he's the better fighter, Usman. And, Masvidal needs to focus on other areas now within the sport and not come back to Usman unless he proves himself in the division and comes back for a title fight chance again in the future. But we'll see what happens there, because there's a lot of, obviously, speculation as to where Usman's going to go and who he's going to fight next. And me personally, I want to see him go up in the weight divisions. I want to see him try to do what Israel, sorry, I can never pronounce his name, Israel did. He went up into the light heavyweight and just give it a try. Why not do it? Stop saying about, you don't want to be clashing with other Africans. It's bullshit. Just give it a try. If you're that good and you're confident, put a bit more weight on, try something different, or maybe lose some weight and go down. Why not? Seeing these photos come up now with a very impressive resume, or CV as we call it here in the UK, or resume, sorry. So yeah, where's he going to go? Speculation is always there. We had it last time when he beat Burns, and they said Masvidal most likely, and obviously Masvidal's happened now. He's doing really well this year so far. Like I said, I want to see him try a different weight class. I think that's the only way he can go now. There's not really anyone worthy or deserving to really test him, and there's no newcomers really either. So what's he going to do? He said he doesn't want to chill. He doesn't want to relax and not be training, because he needs to keep up his craft. So in my opinion, the only thing he can do is go up or down on a weight class and then see what he can do there. He doesn't need to do it for the money or anything like that. Israel, like I said, he took it humbly in defeat against, obviously, Jan. But he's a different person. It's his standards and obviously his career and whatnot. So we have to respect, obviously, what he wants to do. But I do hope that will be the case. But, speaking here again at the end, this is where he said, Masvidal, thank you. You made me step up my game. So incredible athlete, and well done, Usman. Full respect to you. So as I mentioned before, Masvidal was on home soil in Jacksonville, which obviously he's a native of, in Florida. And obviously that was a good advantage for him because he had the crowd behind him. But as we know, that didn't make a difference. It is a real shame that Masvidal didn't get to execute anything really. No strikes, no wrestling, no grappling, nothing. So very disappointing on his side, and you could see he was gutted and hurt. Obviously not to the point that he had to be rushed to hospital. Thank God. He was saying at the end to his kids on the camera, "Look, I'm fine. I'll be home soon. Don't worry about me," because obviously all children would naturally be scared for their dad or their mother, because they know they can get hurt, and he wasn't hurt. But obviously he was completely shocked, rattled and taken by surprise. He did not expect that type of power and that type of aggression, but also very calculated and accurate. So, it's humble in his defeat. Here's the little post clip of just talking about it and saying, "Look, I wasn't ready for that. Respect to you, and I hope that we can maybe do it again sometime. So again, respect Masvidal, and hope to see you again fighting soon. So in the flyweight champion title fight, Valentina Shevchencko 21-3 totally dominated Jessica Andrade at 21-9 to retain her belt. She was slammed and Jessica to the canvas 3 times in 2 rounds, and eventually going on to win by TKO after a series of blows to Jessica's head and ear. It's quite funny, Shevchenko dancing, that's gone after, as you can see here, and said, "I can do everything." And I don't know, maybe she's got a background in ballet, because that was some quite impressive dancing from what I saw. So that was a pretty good fight. I'm going to make a separate video to that, as well as the other women's fight, which we're going to speak about now, which is coming up with obviously Rose Thug Namajunas, who managed to regain the women's strawweight championship title last night against her opponent, Weili Zhang. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Now, obviously, for this fight, Weili was naturally confident as obviously being the current champion. She's 21-2, by the way, where Rose was 11-4 at that point. Unfortunately, Rose actually sent her to the canvas with a left foot to the face in the opening round at 1:18. Then the bout was stopped. Zhang was actually really angry and upset with the ref, because she's saying, "Look, I'm able to fight still. I haven't lost consciousness." But the replays do show how vicious that kick was, but she still kept insisting that she hadn't lost. But at the end of the day, she accepted defeat, and she's saying, "I hope the UFC will give me the opportunity for a rematch at some point." So well done to these 2 ladies, very deserving champions, new and obviously retaining the title for Valentina. So I'm going to make a video obviously for Rose as well, for the post-fight. Just wanted to quickly show you in this video, obviously, because they were the main card, the 3 of them, they were the title fight. So I mentioned the girls briefly, but I will, like I did with Amanda Nunes, talk about them on a separate one for the fans of the women just as much as the men. So a couple other things as well. Nick Diaz was actually there, and he's been apparently in talks with Dana because he wants to have a fight. And Dana said, you know, that, yeah, after the press conference, I'm going to talk to him. He's waiting for me in the back. And you can see here Nick there, and also Justin Gaethje in the crowd watching the fight. So that's quite exciting. I wonder who he's going to be potentially put up against and when that's going to happen, but it looks like it could be happening very soon. So also one other thing as well, that absolute wanker Jake Paul, the YouTube idiot, he was there, and he was actually squaring up and being rude basically to DC, and DC was actually threatening him, saying, "Look, shut your mouth and keep quiet," because he kept being booed and chanted at in the crowd because people don't like him. The guy's an idiot. And again, luckily Dana has commented in the press conference, said that nothing's ever going to happen there. Here he is talking about, he said it's never going to happen. Respect him for making his money and getting his name out there, but it's not what we do. We don't have those sort of fights, and he's not coming in the UFC at any time soon. So thank God for that, Dana, because just because he's making some money with these crap boxing fights does not mean you want to try and tarnish this sport with someone like him. So yeah, thank God for that. So once again, to Usman and all the other people who won that night, obviously commiserations to the people who were injured. I will speak about that in another video as well. There's just too much to talk about from a sensational night, to be honest, for UFC. There's so much happening. Yeah, I just can't fit all in one video. So anyway, guys and girls, I hope you liked today's video. If you did, as always, please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let's have a chat about the fights I have mentioned and any others I've missed, which I'll be covering in separate videos. So anyway, take care, and I'll see you soon. Amigo and Finis, signing out.